Today we're going to be starting chapter 2, and chapter 2 in general is about factoring, and we're going to be looking at some polynomials, how we classify those polynomials and multiply them together. So the first thing in our toolkit is we need to remember when you're multiplying exponents, if they have the same base, so here we have x and x, then you can add those exponents together. So here we get x to the 3 plus 4, so that equals x to the 7. Some definitions. A term is a number or a product of a number with one or more variables which can be raised to a power. So what that means is all of the numbers and letters in the term are stuck together. They're all multiplying. So for example, you can have 7. You could have x squared, that's a term. You have minus 4xy is a term. You could have 10x squared y to the 3. Okay, these are all terms. So if you each one of these, so this is one term, this is one term, this is one term, this is one term. So each thing in the term is multiplying. So 10 is multiplying the x squared, is multiplying the y squared. So that's different from a polynomial. So a polynomial is a term or a sum, meaning adding together of terms, in which all variables have whole number exponents. So in a polynomial, you'll never have a fraction exponent. We are not going to be looking at any fraction exponents in this chapter. And the variables only appear in the numerator. So you're never going to have a variable in the denominator. So an example of a polynomial could be 3x squared minus 4x. That's a polynomial. You could have, so 5xy minus x plus z. Okay, that's a polynomial. So notice the difference between this and this is that these are all multiplying each other. Here we're having a subtraction in the middle. So we have two terms here. This is one term and this is a different term, and we have a subtraction in the middle. Here, this polynomial has three terms. This is term number 1, this is term number 2, and this is term number 3. And there's a subtraction and an addition that's separating them. Okay. So if you just have one term, that's called a monomial. So here, everything is just multiplying. It's just one term. A binomial. Now we have two terms in our polynomial here. So there's one addition in between. Here's another binomial. So one term, another term, one term, another term. Trinomial is three terms. So here, this one here is a trinomial. We have one term, two term, three term. This one here is a trinomial. We have one term, two term, three terms. And polynomial is the general expression. It can be monomial, binomial, trinomial, or continue. 4 terms, 5 terms, 6 terms, whatever. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4 terms, this polynomial. So that's just some terminology. So we are going to start off by multiplying a monomial by a monomial. Okay, so here we have two monomials. We're going to multiply them together. So to do this, you multiply we're going to multiply our numbers together here. So notice 2 and 3 are different bases. So we can't add the exponents, but we can do with numbers as opposed to letters is we can multiply them together. So we get 2, and I'll use a dot to show multiplication, -3. Then next we have x's. So x's in both cases are the same base. So we have 3 plus 4 for my exponent 3 and my exponent 4. So I'm going to do this multiplication. 2 times minus 3. That's going to give me a negative 6. And then for my x, I have 3 plus 4. That's going to give me 7. So my answer for this one is negative 6x to the 7. My next example, here I have a 3 base and a 5 base. So those are two numbers, not the same base, so I can multiply them together. Then I have x's that I can combine, and I have y's that I can combine. So I get 3 times 5. X, now there's nothing written on this x, so that means it has an exponent of 1. And then I'm going to add it to the 4. For my y, I have a 2, and I'm going to add it to my 6. So I can now do the multiplication of 3 times 5. That's going to give me 15. And then I have x, 1 plus 4 gives me 5. And 6 plus 2 gives me 8. So that's my final answer there. Here now I have 3 monomials that I'm multiplying together. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to look at my numbers. So here I have a minus 2, a 5, and if there's just a negative like this, it means minus 1. And then I'm going to combine my bases, a's and b's. So minus 2 times 5 times negative 1. Then I have a to the 3 plus 5 plus 2. For my b's, I have 2 plus 2 plus 1. So now I'm going to multiply minus 2 times 5 times negative 1. And that leaves me with 10. Going to add up 3 plus 5 plus 2. That gives me 8 to the 10. And then I'm going to add up on my b's. 2 plus 2 plus 1. That gives me b to the 5. That's my final answer. Okay. Oops. So that is how you multiply monomials together. The next thing is like terms. So like terms are any terms in a polynomial that have the same variables to the same power. To combine like terms, we add or subtract their coefficients. So for something to be like term, it has to have the exact same power on the bases. So here, x to the 3, x to the 3. So the letters have to have the same exponent. So these are like terms. These here, even though we have the same bases, x and y, they're not like terms because here we have an x to the 2 and here we have an x to the 1. Here we have a y, here we have a y to the 2. Also not like terms. Let's say you had 3x squared and 5x to the 3. So even though you just have x as your bases, because this is a 2 and this is a 3, these are not like terms. So they have to be identical. Okay? And if you do have like terms, so in this case, we do have like terms, then you add or subtract the coefficients. So coefficient is the number in front. So here we have 3 minus 5. So we end up with minus 2x to the 3. So the base part, this doesn't change at all. Let's look at this one. So here we're going to see this and this are like terms. This one and this one are like terms. Oops. So we get minus 10x squared plus 4x squared. So minus 10 plus 4, that's going to give us minus 6x squared. And then we have minus y and plus 7y. So that's going to give us plus 6y. And that's the final answer there. So we can only combine together the ones that had identical bases with identical exponents. I don't know why this is floating up here. Okay, so this next part is going to be in the next video. So right now you are going to do, let's see, page 69, number 7. And that's going to be the homework for this video.